Welcome to Pitch in the Zone, a weekly gathering of coaches that help one presenter with a 3-minute pitch. Today we are a very small group of coaches. Scotty and Massimo won't be able to join it, so that leaves Nathan Gold, hailing from San Francisco. He's a high-stakes presentation coach. We have Rick Pollack in Boston, Massachusetts, also a presentation coach. And then Michael Marchak up in Chicago. He's a CTO, an author, a speaker, and also an angel investor. And returning today into the zone is Nara Kim. Nara, welcome back to Pitch in the Zone. This is your second time around. I know you have made a lot of improvements. I look forward to it. Tell us briefly before we start, what is the intended target audience and what's the setting? Is it an online, or are you planning to go and present in person? What's your specific situation?
So the presentation that I would like to practice with you is practicing my pitch as if I was presenting to investors, a group of investors, sort of online, actually, like this format. So love to get the feedback on my presentation and then the content behind, because I pulled together more of a presentation deck than actually like a standard like pitch deck that you would send out for review.
Okay, so in that case, Nara, you are showing slides. So if you want to share your screen, and once the slides are up, take a deep breath, and the floor is going to be yours.
Okay. Can we see my screen? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Nara. I'm an American expat living in Italy for the past 3 years. And this was my reality in 2020 when Italy shut down due to COVID. I'd walk around the empty streets of Milan and wonder to myself when my friends and family living in the US would be able to come visit me so I can show them my Dolce Vita life of walking around beautiful Milan, eating delicious pasta, and being able to shop in these beautiful stores. It's already been 2 years, and the world is slowly reopening, but travel still remains unpredictable for many reasons. Lack of time, lack of money, or not just wanting to deal with the hassle of traveling during COVID times. So I thought to myself, how can I show my friends and family living 10,000 miles away my Milanese life? My name is Nara Kim. I am the co-founder and CEO of VYA. VYA enables people who don't have the time or the financial resources to virtually travel around the world and shop as if they were physically there, from any tech device without the need to use AR and VR glasses. So how does VYA work? I'm sure many of you have used Google Street View, which gives you a real-life image of a street and the businesses located on that street. VYA captures the same real-life street image, but unlike Google Street View, imagine now being able to walk down a street in Milan, walk into a store that catches your eye, browse, and purchase your favorite items from that store. Not sure if the outfit will look good on you? With VYA, you can invite your friends to join you on your virtual shopping excursion and ask for their opinion in real time. VYA transforms the online shopping experience by integrating 3 core experiences. 1, explore. Virtually travel the world. Shop your favorite city like Paris, or perhaps find a new one like Tokyo. 2, socialize. Connect with friends in real time and window shop together. And lastly, interact. Using a mix of immersive technologies that allow you to virtually browse, try on, and purchase products from multiple cities and stores all at once with one checkout. The team building VYA consists of myself as co-founder and CEO. I have over 20 years of experience in brand management, e-commerce, and building and scaling marketplace platforms. My co-founder and CTO is Andrea Baldini, an Italian serial entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience in building AR and VR solutions for education and fashion companies. For the launch of VYA, we will focus on the US market, which is leading the e-commerce evolution as more people are shopping online than ever before. VYA will focus on fashion and home design, which is expected to grow to almost $350 billion by this year. Our target customers are American, Gen Z, and millennial female shoppers, which represents a $5.3 billion opportunity. And we see VIA contributing almost $26 million towards that by year 5. Our go-to-market strategy is to focus on key tourist cities, with Milan as our initial focus to build critical mass in one city before rolling out to other Italian cities such as Rome, Venice, and Florence, and then eventually building out a global footprint. We earn money by charging a 35% commission on every sale, which covers cross-border logistics that VIA will manage for every retail partner to ensure a consistent customer experience. To scale our MVP, we are seeking a $500,000 pre-seed investment, which will be allocated to grow 3 areas: engineering, sales and marketing, and operations to help build our legal and logistics framework. The world is definitely becoming more and more virtual. And now with VIA, we are bringing you inside when Google Street View left you at the front door. My name is Nara Kim. I am the co-founder and CEO of VIA. Come find us at shopvia.com. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Very, very good. Very clear, very concise. I absolutely love it. Now, let me ask you one question, Nara.
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool do you consider your product, your solution to be? Scale of 1 to 10.
I would
cool
say,
is it?
How cool, the cool factor? I give it an 8.5.
8.5.
Yes.
Make sure that comes across, because this is one of the comments that Michael also made in the comments. It's about the energy, the passion, the enthusiasm. I think this is such a great solution that you're working on, but that energy, that coolness is somehow not yet coming fully across.
True.
So let me turn it over to Michael, and I'm sure he has many other comments as well. We are a small group today, so all of the coaches can
get undivided attention.
Yep.
So, Nara, very good slides. Your slides were, you can obviously tell you were in branding because you were on brand on every slide, very well put together. So kudos to that for sure. The story you put together in terms of bringing us along from the immersion. Here's the issue, here's the immersion, here's what it looks like. From a revenue perspective, you kind of painted a initial sort of a picture along with that. A couple of issues I have. One was, like Claudia just mentioned, your energy wasn't necessarily where I would expect someone who's the founder of the cool technology like this. As you were going through, it was painfully obvious you were reading your script. Even if you weren't reading a script, it seemed like you were reading a script. We were so excited about starting in Milan and we're going to move to Paris, and okay. I mean, that's great. It's like going, it's like, we're starting Milan. Milan's a fashion capital of the world. So we really wanted to get started there. We see Rome and as being our next set of things, because we really see that as the expansion, especially for Gen Z millennials who are unable to travel. Amp it up. You got to get some energy into there because it is cool. And you got to tell me it's cool by how enthusiastic you are, not just about the numbers. And like, because investors are investing in you when they see this stuff. As flashy as all your stuff may be, and as cool as that technology may be, they're still investing in you. And if I don't feel that you're really excited about this, it's going to be a challenge for me to get past that. The other part is
my jazz hands need to come out. My jazz hands need to come out.
Well, if that works for you, sure. But to be able to provide that energy somehow and feel the story, so that when you're telling me that story, I can be there with you and feel it, right?
Okay.
The second one is you talk about the revenue streams and whatnot, and the commissions that in your way you make money. It's great for me to understand that. How have your initial tests gone with local retailers when you've approached them with these numbers? I'm only asking because my wife had owned a store, and her margins to be able to absorb a 35% commission would have put her out of business. So I'm just trying to find out from you where that comes.
No, one, I've also been in retail for some time. So I think it comes from two places. So one, if you're a vertical retailer and you own the brand, a 35% commission actually is absorbable. And the feedback I've gotten from brands is like, actually, we're on the lower end compared to other marketplaces. But then if you're a third party retailer, then the 35% is a harder one to absorb. So this is the feedback where now I'm looking at how to I don't want to say customize, but come up with 3 different use cases of if you're a brand, here's the commission. If you're a multi-branded retailer, this would be the commission to make it viable for you. Because for me, it's important that you stay on the platform. So if you go financially broke being on my platform, then this is never going to be successful. So there, I'm looking at different use cases to see what's the best fit, because also in that case as well, if you're a third party retailer, in some cases, they don't even own the inventory. It's consignment, right? So there's different models behind them that as I'm talking to more retailers, I'm kind of understanding what their pain points are. So I've now come back and re-looking at, okay, potentially I have to focus on certain types of retailers first, and then move into more of these third party retailers, or I have to kind of modify the commission structure that still would make it viable for me, but also viable for them. So yeah, it's a fair point. It is, it's the number I came up with based on several calculations, but the feedback now is like making me rethink how I need to approach it. And then what is the actual number that would work for different types of business models.
So where are you at in your journey to this point now? Because you've shown the story behind it. Where in the story are we right now in terms of your platform and your business?
So right now we're building the prototype right now in the background. So what I showed you was some conceptual ideas, more the conceptual idea than the actual prototype of it. So we're building that right now. And then in parallel, I'm in the process of basically trying to onboard retailers and brands onto the platform. So we have let's say a date to try to launch this by mid Q2, in line with Milan Design Week, which is in June. So we want to use the Milan Design Week as the big launching pad from an activation standpoint to say, can't come to Milan for Design Week. You can now explore Design Week, shop, like walk down these streets, see all the activities going on, go into the store and shop the stores that are participating in Design Week. So that's our strategy right now, is to basically go live by May to be ready for June.
Okay. And then for the ask that you have,
the $500,000.
Can you describe a little bit more in detail the ask and where that money would be going to?
So our biggest, I think, critical need would be the engineering part right now. So my CTO, who is based in Rome, he already has an AR VR startup as well. So we've been sort of repurposing his team to help build some of the, let's say, the blueprint for what we want to build. So the money would be dedicated actually in building a dedicated team to help build our platform, and basically more of the back-end coding to connect some of the front and back-end stuff that my CTO has been working on right now. And then in terms of sales and marketing, then focusing on the campaign of then driving the demand in the US. So building out the whole strategy behind that. To basically, I mean, we'll probably dovetail off of all the activity and buzz going around Design Week anyway, but then obviously focused on then really targeted to the US customer about, coming to Milan and doing some activation campaigns with influencers that are in the design and fashion and, let's say, travel space, and trying to get more of an influencer campaign around that. And then also gamifying it. So we want to make it interactive and immersive. So some of that money maybe go towards a promotional campaign, say win a 500 euro voucher or something. If we can work with some partners here, something a little bit bigger, like a free trip to Italy or a free hotel stay. So these are some of the ways we're looking to spend from a marketing standpoint. And the last piece is the legal and operations part. So, there's a lot of things to be set up. We've been talking to different startups that help in logistics. So getting that set up, and then the costs of just basically having the legal contracts reviewed, getting all the compliance stuff kind of put into place. That unfortunately is costing a lot more money than I had envisioned. And so we're basically need to rely on the expertise of these companies to give us the advice on how to set up certain structures, because we are shipping cross-border and we're set up in Ireland.
Okay. So as you're telling your story and providing that vision,
Yeah.
I would personally put in there at some point some more that we are very early stage in this, and here's
Okay.
where we are in terms of where we're going. You know, if you want to put a timeline and just show it, that'll help me visually understand it. But the idea is you're still very early. You have no customers, you have no revenue stream, you have no product, you really have a vision. So understanding where that is when you're telling an investor, that lets them understand, you know, how real is this? Because there's, you know, I hate to say it, but ideas are a dime a dozen, even when it comes to the great presentation.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to be harsh, but you really need to go let them know this is early stage, but here's where we are. Here's the commitments we do have in pocket. Here's our timeline for executing this. So there can be an understanding of where you're going rather than having to tease it out of you. You can provide that to them up front so that you're not hiding anything.
Okay. I mean, I'm hoping in the next few weeks we are making some progress talking to people and retailers that there's like some traction data that I can actually put in. Because before I had we did a survey, a concept like feedback test, which, you know, gave us good feedback, but, you know, it wasn't like tangible. It was same thing, an idea that people liked, but, you know, now I'm actually talking to real customers in terms of partners, and I'm getting their feedback, like great idea, like to your point, the 35% is a little bit hard for me to swallow, or this is my challenge, you know? So taking that, and then we're going to go back into then rework. I mean, I'm on my 50th version of my deck, right? Because I'm updating it as I get new data and more information, and, you know, pivoting it to make sure that it like is realistic to what our vision and how realistic that vision can come to life. So, and by when. I think those were the two things. So thank you for your feedback.
Thanks so much, Michael. As always, very, very good and useful information and feedback for our presenter. Let's move on to Rick. Rick, what kind of observations do you want to share with Nara?
Okay. Nara, it's much improved over last time. I remember
I didn't completely choke. Thank you.
Yeah, last time you kind of mumbled school street view, and I think a few of the people, coaches, didn't even know what you're talking about. But now you made it very clear what it was. One thing on your logo, it's a shop your wanderlust, and I don't think you mentioned that word at all. I mean, that's your logo. I would put that in there. My feeling is the first minute you talked about being an expat in Milan and the pandemic and the empty streets. I don't think that should be at the beginning. To me, that's because when you went through that story and said, "Oh, she's in Milan and the streets were empty and the pandemic," and then you said, "How can I show my friends my life?" Was kind of the follow up to that. And as an investor, I would say, well, I don't want to give her $500,000 to show her friends her life. And then you got into the real reason I should invest. So I would think, I don't think you really need that in a 3-minute pitch. What jumped out at me was shop as if you were actually there. And then the other thing I typed in was Google Street View leaves you at the front door, VYA brings you inside. That, I think, if you can put that right up front, because then people are going to understand, and that's what differentiates you than just, you know, someone showing their friends what their life is overseas. But it's more of, you know, I want to invest in that. Why should I invest in that? You know, it's more of people can shop if you're actually there. And then you say, well, who's the audience? It's the millennials, it's the Gen Z, and what do they like to do? And they like to explore, they like to socialize, they like to interact. And I think if you put the target audience first, the millennials, the Gen Z, they like to explore, they like to socialize, they like to interact, they like to shop online. You mentioned Fashion Week after the fact. I think you can put that into the pitch. Milan, that's the fashion capital of the world. You didn't mention that just came across in the comments after. So I think if you put it in, you know, here's Milan, where you know, I live there, all the fashion people, but people can't get there. Then maybe the side mention of the pandemic, but even that, how things have changed after that is people want to do things online now. They realize that things that they thought they could only do in person, they can do online now. And here's this online shopping platform where the millennials, the Gen Z are going to get that in the store experience, not just seeing the outside of the store, but getting that experience in the store. And I think that's a much more logical flow for an investor to follow and say, oh, this is a great use of the technology. Gen Z people are going to use it. And yeah, then I think how you make money, I thought that came kind of late in the pitch too, when I know the 35%, but it's more of, we bring people inside the store virtually. We make money by a commission on each sale. And I think that way, if you just kind of reorganize the pitch that way, I think it's going to appeal to an investor. It'll have much more appeal to the investor, because I think the demo, showing that people, you show the inside of the store, you show the sneaker, and then you say, well, you don't know. And then you showed in that little chat window, the person's friend coming up. And, when I saw that, I thought that was very effective. So, oh, this is an online shopping experience. And you said these are people, millennials, Gen Z in the States, and they are going to want to shop in Milan without going to Milan. Your technology is going to,
bring them there,
help them with their wanderlust. So I think maybe wanderlust can be worked in. You've got it in your logo, and explain how that does that. But yeah, I think the graphics are great. The concept is great, but just kind of bring some of those things you mentioned in passing, like Fashion Week or the thing about the market, and just talk more about the experience. Here's a Gen Z, here's a millennial who's in the States. They want to shop Fashion Week in Milan. We're going to take them outside of the picture of the store, but bring them inside the store and actually let them fill up a shopping cart to do that and buy something, and we'll make money that way. But yeah, I love the idea. And I think as long as you kind of tie it to the market, how it works, then you're going to get people investing. So, great job, Nara.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rick. And moving right along to Nathan.
Okay. Let's not repeat anything that's been said. I'll go straight to my list here that I haven't checked off yet. So first of all, your sound quality is outstanding today, and your framing in the visual is pretty good.
I was told the 1/3 rule by Claudio.
when you lean forward too much, the top of your head gets cut off, but it was only during Q&A, not during the presentation. So well done on that. See how easy that is. Standing might be one of the solutions for you to be able to deliver with more energy, because normally when we're in a room, we're standing and we present differently because we're breathing differently when we stand, typically. So perhaps that's all you need to do, is just figure out a way that you can put your camera in a spot where you can stand up and then present in this virtual world. When you're listening to one of us, one of the people online speaking, it's okay to look anywhere you want to. You can look at us and read our lips and whatnot. But when you're answering the question, stop looking at the person on the screen and look back into the camera, so that you give them the impression that you're talking to them. And literally everyone else online. Like I'm talking to you right now, not looking at my notes over here. So when I want to get my note, I can look away from the screen like this, pick up my note, and then come back to you. That's one of the simplest things you can do in this virtual world to maintain more connection with people on a flat screen. It takes a little habit. You got to build a new habit. When you're listening to me, it's totally okay to look away, because I'm not looking at you on the screen anyway. As soon as you talk, I can look over at you on the screen and pick up your body language and things like that. Okay, so let's have you work on that a little bit more. And what just did that? Okay, so when you're answering questions, they are sounding like a little bit too long. I would like to hear you in your answers. Remember, it's more about them than you. So the 1 to 2 minute answers for Q&A during investor back and forths is better than saying, oh, and that reminds me, and then this, and then this, and then this, and that led me to tell you about this and this and this. So keep it a little tighter on your answers, because today was a good example of some of your answers went on for a little bit longer than probably they needed to. And on top of that, when you were answering your questions, your confidence in my mind dropped, because I was starting to hear a bucket of ums. And in between words, at the end of the sentence, before the next sentence, which tells us that, you know, you're thinking on your feet a little bit and you're probably a little afraid of silence. So
Okay.
I'd like to see you replace those ums with either silence or the next word.
Okay.
As you think about it, because those ums are they chip away at the confidence your listeners have in you. And I know you're very confident. The is just probably that word, that tick that you have in your head that you say, but we don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to hear that.
Yes, you and I need to work on my enthusiasm.
And well, that's already been talked about. And I think standing by itself will help very much in that. And then, of course, you were reading your script, right?
I had memorized my script, actually. I had stopped memorizing, but I think I stopped reading, but I think it's in my head. I'm reading it from my head.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. You're still reading.
So it's still I'm practicing it in my head. Of like doing it in my sleep. I mean, it's there.
So what you need to do now is push past that boredom that you might be feeling with the script. And put yourself in different situations, like go walk the street and do the script out loud and don't care if anybody's listening, so that you can begin to feel your body delivering those words that are coming down to your mouth. Right now, you're thinking too hard about them, so you're not concentrating on what to do with those words. And that will take some number of hours of practice, because that's what actors and actresses do. They memorize their script, they get up on stage and they're awkward, and then after the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th performance, it's like, oh, I know exactly what I want to say and what to do, and now I can really act it out. And the acting is we want you to be real and authentic, but you can't get to be that real and authentic, enthusiastic person when you're wondering, what's coming, what's the next line. So there is a period of time. Some people can do it faster than others, but generally it's, you know, for TED speakers that memorize their talks, it's usually a couple of weeks once they've memorized their talk to get to the point where it doesn't sound memorized.
Rehearsed, and memorized,
All right, and then Michael mentioned, or was it Rick? Doesn't matter. That if this is conceptual or early stage, that was Michael. That's a very important distinction to make when you're talking about where you are. Your opening, as I agree very much, it took you 49 seconds to get to VYA. And your opening story was intriguing. It can get shorter and more concise, but there was a missing bridge between that story and what you're here to talk about. There was no connection. It was like, here's the story. Rick kind of pointed this out. Here's the story. And oh, by the way, this is what I'm doing. And he never came back to say, no, anyway, okay. I want to give Claudio a couple seconds here. More pause. More pausing and more conversational tone. But once you feel the script without thinking very much about it, that'll come through a bit more. And we can definitely always spot somebody who's either reading a script or being teleprompted, because they say, and then, oh, sorry, next time. Right. So you don't have to apologize.
You try to repeat the word that you forgot.
Just miss a word and move on. Just move on. And so that's what I have for you, Nara. Thank you so much for coming back. And as Claudio said, feel free to hop on my calendar and then come on back a third time if you want. You know, third time's a charm.
We will reconnect as I get my enthusiasm up.
Good. So we were a small group of coaches today. Nara, did you still feel you got a little bit of value out of us here today?
I did, because, you know, it's interesting about the comment of how I started, because I'll be honest, I rewrote my start several times and it didn't feel genuine. And, you know, I'm sure you all read Simon Sinek's like why, start with why. And so I went back to my why of why this idea came about, which is basically because I was walking around Milan, I see all these closed stores during COVID. And so this was like sort of the inspiration of why I created my idea. Now it's been 2 years, and it's interesting because the feedback I got when I showed people my deck about this, they said, it seems very circumstantial, right? COVID is kind of winding down and there's all this talk about people not traveling. I'm like, yeah, that's true, but people are still not traveling for a lot of different reasons, right? So I was kind of struggling with how to put in my why and for how the idea came about, but still make sense to why this product is still like, what's the word? not practical, but makes sense in the time that we're in right now. So I think this is where I struggled. And so it's interesting to get the feedback of kind of like, almost like cut to the chase of how I kind of started the story. And I guess clearly the story didn't make sense per se, because you didn't understand why I told you the story about being in Milan, walking around, and then now here's my product. So clearly there was a disconnect that my why didn't really come out. And maybe I need to now rethink about just the beginning of all this, how to make it relatable, but also make sense in the market that we're in right now, right? So it wasn't like an idea that came out 2 years ago, but the idea is still relatable today, and makes sense in the time that we're in. So it's something I need to do some homework on and practice on, or rethink that. So, but of course, when I say it to myself, it all makes sense. And then when we say it out loud, it's like, didn't make any sense, Nara. I'm like, okay,
Always
back
does.
to the drawing board on that one.
Yes.
Yeah. So no.
Yes. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If COVID wouldn't have happened, do you think that you still would have done something along what you're doing now?
I think so. Because, I've lived abroad now for almost 7 years, and my family hasn't visited me once. I think it's like people who always want to say they want to come visit you. They'll, it's always like, oh, I'll come visit Italy. I'll come visit Germany when I lived in Germany, but I know they won't. And it's the same. Good. I meet a lot of Italians who've never went to America. They're like, oh, I want to go to New York. I want to go to here. Sure. And so I think this desire to travel exists for a lot of people, but for whatever reason, they don't go. So I think it would have come up to be like, okay, how do I bring a city or country to you if you physically will not get on a plane or whatever to go to another place? I think COVID accelerated that because I just saw so many closed businesses that had zero digital presence. So no one was ever going to find the store because they only relied on foot traffic. And poor Giuseppe doesn't even know anything about online. So I think it would have eventually come up at some point, but COVID really just showed you how much it was necessary to do something like this. So, and
this is actually a very critical distinction, I think, the acceleration versus the why behind it, right? So I would like to encourage you to rethink your why, because right now you're kind of like framing the why as COVID related, but it's not. Yeah. You have a deeper reason why you want to do what you're doing. And so I encourage you to go a little bit deeper into yourself. And the story you just told about, your family not visiting and things like that, that would have happened with or without COVID. So there might be a stronger why somewhere in there, which then all of a sudden leads to a more intense connection, so you're then looking at the negative aspect, right? And say, oh, my family is not visiting me. What does that mean? And how can I turn it now into a positive? Okay, so that's my last comment here today. Despite being a very, very small group, we absolutely went over time, but that just speaks for you, your idea and your pitch at this moment. I also encourage you, Nara, to grab the chat comments, because Michael also put in a couple more comments after his feedback to you. And one I think is a very, very important one that I think every person that ever presents or pitches something really, really needs to understand that Michael wrote, remember that even if you've delivered the pitch 1,000 times, that I'm hearing it for the first time. And I think this is so critical that we ourselves, we are getting tired of the same message over and over and over again, and forget that the other person or the people in the room, they are hearing it truly for the first time. Yeah. All right. So that gets us to the end of today's Pitch in the Zone. This was actually a milestone, 75. Yay, let's celebrate. And I look forward congratulations. Yes, and I look forward to seeing you come back in a couple weeks, 2-3 months again, Nara, just with the final version, as Nathan said, the third time is a charm. And in the meantime, I wish all of you a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we shall see each other again next week.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.